Welcome back to the Quickstart Guide for Recovery from Addiction and Co-occurring Disorders. This section will focus on physical vulnerability awareness and prevention. This is part 2 of 6 of the Vulnerability Awareness and Prevention Unit. I'm your host, Dr. Dawn-Elise Snipes. In this section, you're going to learn about sleep and sleep hygiene, explore the importance of good nutrition, and identify how pain and illness can also contribute to relapse. Let's start with sleep. Adequate sleep improves memory and learning, increases your attention and creativity, and aids in concentration and decision making. That also helps reduce impulsivity. The average person over the age of 12 still needs 7.5 to 10 hours of sleep per night. Now, think about the last time you got that much sleep. Unfortunately, most people don't get that much sleep, and that is one of the biggest factors contributing to obesity and mood issues and a variety of other issues, including autoimmune disorders, in people in the United States. Sleep is time to rest, restore, and recharge. Toxins that accumulate in the brain during the day are cleared out during sleep. Healing and repair of cells takes place during sleep. So during the day, while we're awake, our body is focused on keeping us aware of any potential threats and doing what we want it to do, digesting food, walking, thinking, doing work, whatever we're doing. So it's not focusing a lot of energy on repairing and healing itself. When we're sleeping, it doesn't have to focus on much of anything else except for, keeping our heart beating and keeping us breathing. So it can focus more energy on healing and repair and getting rid of some of those, some of the oxidative stress that exists. Sleep helps maintain the balance of hormones in the body. Ghrelin and leptin regulate feelings of hunger and fullness. Insulin, which is responsible for the regulation of blood glucose, cortisol, that's your stress hormone, and testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone are all impacted by your circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms are helped to be set. They're not completely set by sleep, but they're helped to be set by sleep. The other thing that affects circadian rhythms is light. When there is light outside, it tells our brain it's time to wake up and time to go about the day. When it is dark, it tells our brain it's time to sleep. So in general, we can think of light as helping to set our circadian rhythms. But during the winter, for example, our days get much, much shorter, and our circadian rhythms really shouldn't change that much. So it's important during the shorter days when it's dark, 14, 15 hours a day, it's important that we make sure we get exposure to enough bright light in the morning to get our circadian rhythms going, get our system, jump started in the morning so we can get adequate quality sleep at night. So let's talk about sleep hygiene. And I don't know why they call it hygiene, but that's the word they use for how to get good sleep. Think about the reasons that you don't sleep well. And we're going to go through, the PACER format to look at some of these things. For a lot of people, there are physical reasons they don't sleep well. They are too hyped up on caffeine. They're in pain. They're too hot. They're coughing. They're snoring. There's too much noise. There's a lot of things. So it's important to think about, physically, what can I do to improve my sleep? And some of the things that you can do are create a wind down ritual where you do the same couple of things every night to cue your body in that, hey, it's time to get ready to go to sleep. Go to bed at roughly the same time every night and at a time that ensures that you're going to be able to get at least 7 hours of sleep. And I know that sounds really hard, if not almost impossible. You have the choice. You have the choice to make that a priority or not. And if you don't make it a priority, part of HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, and tired, part of HALT is tired. So 4 of the main relapse triggers, one of them is inadequate sleep. It seems like getting adequate sleep would be a priority in your recovery process, but you do have that choice. Don't exercise or take a hot bath within 2 hours of bed. Your body needs to be cool in order to get good quality deep sleep. So doing things that are really going to get you, hot and sweaty and worked up, or, warm your body temperature like a hot bath right before bed are probably not your best choice. So try to, do those things a little bit earlier in the evening or in the morning. Reduce or eliminate stimulants before bed, and that includes nicotine, caffeine, and any decongestants you don't need to take in order to sleep. If you are struggling with a sinus infection, it's better to be able to breathe and have decongestants in your system probably than not to be able to breathe. Either way, you're not going to get the best sleep. That's just the way it is when you're sick sometimes. Pay attention to medication side effects. Interestingly enough, SSRIs, your antidepressants, for example, do monkey with REM sleep in some people. So they find that when they start taking antidepressants, sometimes it actually makes their sleep worse. For other people, it improves their sleep. Other medications, there are a lot of other medications that may affect your sleep. Some of the ones that help you sleep, like some of your atypical antipsychotics, you may take them, and if you take them right before bed, you have a hard time waking up in the morning because you still feel super groggy. Talk with your doctor about ways to manage medication side effects that are either keeping you from getting good sleep or keeping you from being able to wake up when it's time to get going. Try to drink the majority of your fluids during the day so you don't have to get up and go pee 3 times in the night. Eat a healthy diet in order to make sure you've got the building blocks to make melatonin, which is needed to help you get to sleep. Address sleep apnea and pain issues. Get a physical to assess your hormone levels. Estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, hormones in your body actually can impact your ability to get quality sleep. Women who have gone through menopause or premenopause can tell you that as their hormones fluctuate, their sleep quality fluctuates. So it's important to pay attention not only to cognitions, stressors you have going on that keep you awake, but all of these possible physical causes of poor sleep. Regulate your circadian rhythms by getting up in the morning and getting exposed to bright light. Ideally sunlight, but if it's not available, bright light that has a lot of blue in it. So full spectrum daylight bulbs, super helpful. And if you have to nap during the day and during the post-acute withdrawal period, you may still get tired throughout the day and need to take little short naps. And if you have to, that's okay, especially for a short period of time, but try not to nap for more than 30 minutes. If you nap for longer than that, then you start getting into deep sleep, and that throws your circadian rhythms out of whack again. And try to get 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight per day. It doesn't have to be in the middle of the day, but getting outside in order to get 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight helps your body make vitamin D, and it also helps set your circadian rhythms. So, sunlight can be very helpful. You don't need much, but you do need to try to get outside during the day. And even on cloudy days, that's okay because the UV radiation penetrates through the clouds. Affectively and cognitively, think about what triggers your distress, your racing thoughts, or rumination, when you're just sitting there stewing over something, and how can you deal with it? A lot of times we have difficulty sleeping because of our brain or our heart. We're feeling upset for some reason. Things you can do. It's not going to make all of your distress go away, the guilt, the anxiety, that stuff's not just going to magically go away. But you can not make it worse by, you can avoid doing things that might get you even more upset, like social media or the news or certain TV programs. Actually proactively do things that promote contentment, like reading or watching a sitcom or meditating or positive journaling. And I say positive journaling because right before bed is generally not ideal to start, going over stuff that might get you upset. If you spend 10 minutes positive journaling, just writing down all of the things that went right that day and all of the things that you're grateful for in the moment, that can help kind of supercharge some of those calming and relaxation chemicals. You can also use cued muscular relaxation or guided imagery to help tame your monkey mind. And there are videos online on both of those things that you can look at on YouTube. So we're not going to go into them in this particular unit, but there are things that you can do to focus your thoughts on the present moment so you're not stressing about tomorrow or, fretting about something that already happened today. Environmentally, what things in the environment make it hard for you to feel safe? You can't sleep very well if you don't feel safe. So what things in the environment make it hard for you to feel safe or get and stay asleep? And, obviously we've asked these about each aspect of the PACER framework. Possible interventions in the environment. Reduce or eliminate exposure to blue light 1 hour before bed. That means either turn off all of your digital devices, including the TV, or get a blue light filter for those. Eliminate as much light as possible when you're trying to go to sleep. And a sleep mask can be really helpful, even if you don't have lights on. If it's a full moon outside and it's just shining through your window, that's going to impact or kind of mess with your body's internal clock. Keep a red light. You can get those lights at like Harbor Freight and stuff or Home Depot that have just a red light in them. Keep a red light and a notepad by your bed. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and you think of, I've got to remember to get dog food tomorrow, you can just turn that light on really quick and write it down, and then you don't have to fret about whether you're going to remember it or not. And the red light doesn't have the blue tones in it that tend to disrupt your night vision as much. So eliminate as much noise as possible, including from roommates. And I use the term roommates kind of generally. Anybody who is sleeping in your same room, whether that is your child, your spouse, or you're in a dormitory style treatment center, whatever. Anybody you can hear when you're trying to sleep is a roommate. So eliminate as much noise as possible. This may be putting in earplugs or getting some wireless noise-canceling headphones, whatever it is that works for you. But noise tends to keep your HPA axis, keep your senses on alert. When it hears something, it's like, should I be worried about that? Another thing you can do, if it works for you, is use a white noise machine that plays something like, the sounds of the beach. Some people find that to be more helpful than dead silence. It's up to you. Keep the room cool. They say 72 degrees is ideal. I don't find that to be true. I like my room more like 62 degrees because I like to sleep under a blanket. I feel safer and more content when I'm able to sleep under a weighted blanket. I swear by my weighted blanket. I love it. You may hate yours. You may not like it at all. But find a temperature that is comfortable for you, where you're not waking up hot or having to throw off covers during the night, but you're also not waking up shivering. Consider, if you tend to sleep and you get hot, consider a cooling pillow and a cooling mattress topper. They have all different kinds of gel-based pillows and mattress toppers that can help dissipate heat if you tend to be a hot sleeper. If you have allergies, keep an air purifier going in your room. Keep animals off the bed. Not only can they aggravate allergies, but animals tend to move around and, thrash during the night. I know mine, I do let mine on the bed, I will admit. But sometime during the night, most every night, they will come over and try to snuggle next to me. And I wake up and I've got like 6 inches of a king-size bed to myself, and they've got the rest of the bed. So keeping animals off the bed actually is a really good thing for sleep hygiene. Or I've trained mine now. I put a body pillow down the middle of the bed, and I've taught them to, quote, respect the wall. So they will not cross over that body pillow until I wake up in the morning and I give them permission. So that's how I adjusted to that. Make the bedroom a place of safety, relaxation, and sleep. Don't do work in the bedroom. Don't do your bills in the bedroom. Don't fight in the bedroom. And make sure that when you close your eyes, you feel safe. And if you have been a victim of abuse or some sort of violent crime, it may be hard to feel safe when you close your eyes. And it's important to ask yourself, what do I need to do in order to feel safe? You can also look into feng shui, and it talks about some of the things that you can do in your environment to reduce any sort of undercurrents of stress. One of them, for example, is being able to see every single window and door in your environment. So position your bed so you can see all the windows and doors without having to turn around. And if you can't, put up mirrors so you can see what's behind you or what's to the other side. Weighted blankets, as I mentioned earlier, do help some people get to sleep easier. It can be very comforting to some people, and it's also helpful to people who experience overstimulation to sleep with a weighted blanket. And certain essential oils like lavender and chamomile, valerian, and even for humans, catnip. Now, catnip wires the cats, but it actually is a sedative for humans. So try out different essential oils in a little fragrance diffuser in your room if you think that might help. These are obviously not all of the things that you can do, but they are some suggestions to kind of get your creative juices flowing about, all right, what might I need to address? So spend 30 minutes. Draw 5 columns on a piece of paper. Physical, affective, cognitive, environmental, and relational. Your standard 5 columns. In each column, identify specific issues that are impairing your sleep. So if you are having difficulty sleeping because of noise, well, who's making that noise and what can you do about it? Maybe you live in an apartment and it's your neighbors. Well, you may not be able to control them, so how can you address it? So different people will have different sources of noise and may have different ways to address it. But I want you to focus on you and identify specifically what is impairing your sleep in each area and what can you do to address it. And then over the next week, this is a short-term thing. Over the next week, I want you to start trying to address as many of these things as possible. Get a white noise machine, get a sleep mask, start not letting the dog sleep in the room. You can start making, sort of an overhaul and see how that improves your sleep. The second aspect of physical vulnerabilities is nutrition. The foods you eat are broken down to be used for energy, blood sugar and stuff, to make hormones, neurotransmitters, and tissues to repair the body. Poor nutrition means your body factory doesn't have the raw materials to make the products necessary to keep everything running smoothly. Good nutrition doesn't have to be super complicated. It means eating regularly but not constantly. And we'll talk about this more in the unit on nutrition, but this is just kind of high-level overview so you can start making some positive changes. It's important to be able to stop eating at some point in the afternoon and then let your body rest and not have to digest anything for several hours while you're sleeping in order to let your body focus on something besides digestion. And that also helps with insulin sensitivity and some other things. Eat colorfully. Try to Aim for at least 3 colors on your plate at each meal. And this can start to be challenging, but fruits have a lot of colors in them. Vegetables have a lot of colors in them. And so get curious. Try some new fruits and vegetables. There are a lot of, green apples that counts as a green. So do green grapes. So you don't have to necessarily eat spinach at breakfast to get a green in there. But try to get 3 colors on your plate at each meal. Eat enough protein, carbs, and fats. Those are your macronutrients that your body needs in order to make all those neurotransmitters, hormones, and tissues. And you'll find out if you've got enough by just downloading a nutrition app onto your mobile device that will calculate your nutrient intake. If you don't have a mobile device, I'm sure there's one that you can subscribe to, probably for free, on the desktop. Most everybody has some kind of internet access, and you just put in what you eat and it just magically calculates and tells you, which vitamins you got plenty of, which you didn't get enough of, whether you got enough calories or too many, all that stuff you want to know, so you don't have to sit there and try to calculate it all. The app I like right now is called Spark People. Now, that may not be around 5 years from now. I don't know. But I like it because it is really easy to use and it does give you a whole lot of information. Avoid highly processed foods as much as possible. And highly processed foods are your instant foods, are your white breads, are your things that are made from highly processed flours and refined sugars. Those contribute to inflammation. They contribute to blood sugar problems, and they generally are pretty low in nutrition overall. So in order to get the nutrients you need to focus on more natural, wholer foods as much as possible. It's not realistic to expect you to, suddenly change your entire diet. Just start tweaking your diet a little bit and making some positive changes. Finally, nerves communicate in a fluid-filled environment. Making hydration is important as well. You need to be keeping a water bottle or a cup with you pretty much wherever you go. If you have it with you, you're going to be more tempted to sip, which means you'll be more tempted to stay hydrated. Spend 30 minutes downloading a nutrition app that will calculate your nutrition intake. Just do it right now. Get it on your phone or on your tablet. Develop an eating schedule, and that doesn't have to be involved. When are you going to eat and how often? If you want to eat at 8 a.m., noon, and 5 p.m., okay, there's your schedule. Or maybe you're going to do intermittent fasting and you're only going to eat at 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. Okay, that's fine too. Whatever works for you. But just decide when you're going to eat and when you are going to fast and give your digestive system an opportunity to rest. Identify foods that you like in each of the following categories: brown, yellow, orange, red, green, and purple. These are the foods that are out there that you would like to eat. And again, you can go online and search for Eat Colorfully, and there are all kinds of little infographics out there that can clue you in to foods of different colors that you may not have thought of. And you may even start experimenting with some new foods, like for green, trying a kiwi. You may hate it or you may love it. Who knows? Brainstorm or search online for substitutes for your favorite highly processed foods. I love Twinkies. I'll admit it, I love Twinkies. And those are about as processed as you can possibly get. So, brainstorming and trying to find substitutes for those, or, recognizing that they are highly processed and need to only make up a really small part of my diet is really important. And then determine how you're going to ensure that you're drinking at least 64 ounces of water a day. And I already gave you the biggest hint I can on that one. If you keep a water bottle with you, you're more likely to sip from it and use it. So, finally, pain and illness is your third area of physical vulnerability. When you're in pain, when you're sick, you tend to, be at greater risk for relapse and emotional distress. Pain causes stress. emotional and physical, and activates your HPA axis, which you already learned about, and results from inflammation. Illness causes inflammation and physical stress and also activates the HPA axis. Pain and illness, either one, often make it difficult to get quality sleep. Hard to sleep when you're in pain or when you're sick. And a lot of times when you're in pain or when you're sick, you don't want to eat healthfully. You either want to eat comfort foods or you don't want to eat at all. Lack of quality sleep and inadequate nutrition as a result of pain and illness are physical stressors which will activate that HPA axis. In recovery, remember, it's important that we minimize any unnecessary activation of the HPA axis. So, spend 30 minutes thinking about what types of things cause or worsen your pain. For me, I'm getting older, I've got arthritis. Whether somebody wants to say it's a wives' tale or not, I can tell you when a cold front's coming in. I get achier. I can't control that. But I can control how I react to that. I can control whether I put, heat on, or I wear my special warming gloves in order to keep my hands warmer. And that tends to help me with some of my achiness. But, think about things that cause your pain. You may have low back pain. I know my husband has a lot of that. And figure out what can you do to try to either prevent that when at all possible, or when it does happen and you can't prevent it, how can you make it as unstressful? How can you minimize the distress as much as possible? What things do you do that make you more likely to get sick? This could be not getting good sleep, staying up to watch that late show. It could be not washing your hands adequately and frequently enough, not taking your vitamins. Whatever it is that you do, you know that if you do this, you're going to be more likely to get sick. We all have habits that we know are not helpful for our overall health and well-being. How can you prevent or minimize these? You want to try to be as healthy as possible. Finally, when you're in pain, sick, or overtired, how can you best cope with it to minimize your HPA axis activation? If you wake up and you're sick and you ignore it and you hype up on decongestants and then you get angry about the fact that you're sick and you're grumpy with everybody else, that's probably just going to add to that HPA axis activation. So how can you be kind and compassionate to yourself and address what your body needs in order to minimize the pain and illness, as well as minimize any, emotional or interpersonal stress that results from you being in pain or being sick? Insufficient quality sleep, circadian rhythm imbalances, poor nutrition, dehydration, pain, and illness all contribute to physical stress on the body, which triggers the HPA axis, resulting in blood sugar imbalances, increased inflammation and pain, and then our famous HALT, hunger disruption. So your eating is going to be disrupted. You either may not be hungry or you may crave comfort foods that are high in, highly processed and low in nutrition. Anger, irritability, depression, and lack of pleasure can happen when any of these things become a problem. Now, it generally doesn't impact the lonely part too terribly much, but it will impact your energy level. So it does contribute to tiredness, exhaustion, poor concentration, and low motivation. So a lot of times when we talk about recovery, we think about our thinking, we think about maybe even our spirituality, but we don't necessarily address, the elephant in the room, our physical health, our body factory, making sure that it can function effectively and do what it needs to do to help us feel calm and relaxed and relatively pain-free.